You've heard the movie title, Monster. But the real woman behind that story was far more complicated than Hollywood ever showed. Long before the headlines, long before the trials, Aileen Wuornos was shaped by years of abandonment, violence, and survival. And what happened on Florida's highways in 1989 still divides investigators today. This is Criminal Origins. For Aileen Wuornos, life didn't begin with hope. It began with instability. From the very moment she drew her first breath, the foundations of a stable, nurturing childhood were already crumbling away. She was born into turmoil, a world defined not by love, but by absence and violence. Her father, a diagnosed schizophrenic, was imprisoned for violent crimes against a child before she was even born. He would take his own life in prison, a ghost she would never meet. Her mother, barely a teenager herself, walked away when Aileen was still an infant, leaving her and her older brother behind without a second glance. Raised by grandparents struggling with alcoholism and abuse, home offered no sanctuary. Her grandfather's rage and fists became a part of her daily reality. By 11, she was trading sex for food and cigarettes, learning that her body was a currency in a world that had given her nothing. By 15, after being kicked out of her grandparents' home, she was homeless, surviving in the woods behind her school. And by 20, she was drifting across the country, a transient figure haunting the highways and cheap motels of America. She relied on sex work, petty theft, and escalating violence just to stay alive. This wasn't a life, it was a desperate day-to-day battle for survival. Her life was already a storm long before the murders began. December 1st, 1989. Police discover a body off a remote Florida highway. Richard Mallory, a 51-year-old shop owner, shot several times and hidden in the woods. Aileen claimed it was self-defense. She said Mallory attacked her during a sex work encounter. Detectives weren't convinced, but things became clearer when the pattern didn't stop. The string of disappearances that began with Richard Mallory was just the start. Over the next 12 months, a shadow of fear lengthened across central Florida as 6 more men vanished. Charles Carskadden, David Spears, Charles Humphreys, Peter Seams, and others. The bodies, when found, told a chillingly similar story. Different counties, different victims, but the same grim pattern emerged, connecting them all. Middle-aged men, shot, their bodies dumped and their cars left along empty Florida roads. When finally caught, Aileen said every killing was self-defense, a desperate act against men who had attacked her. But investigators believed it was something else entirely, a cold and calculated spree. Robbery, murder, repeat. The evidence piled up, stolen items, pawn shop slips signed with her name, and a trail of abandoned vehicles, all pointing back to her. The narrative she offered clashed violently with the one the evidence was screaming. As the investigation intensified, police were building a case, but the evidence was circumstantial. They had a suspect, but they lacked the definitive proof needed for a conviction. Her downfall didn't come from police work. It came from the one person she trusted. Fearing she would be implicated in the murders, Tyria Moore, Aileen's longtime partner, made a deal with investigators. In exchange for immunity, she would help them secure a confession. She agreed to call Aileen, pressure her, and get her to confess. The plan was simple: exploit Aileen's love and fear of losing Tyria. Those recorded phone calls broke her. Over a series of conversations, manipulated by the woman she adored, Aileen's defenses crumbled. She finally admitted to the crimes, not in a courtroom, but in conversation with the only person she loved. It was the ultimate betrayal, and it sealed her fate. During the trial, Aileen's anger and paranoia were impossible to hide. She shifted between claiming self-defense and accepting full responsibility. The jury didn't hesitate. She received 6 death sentences. On October 9, 2002, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection. Her final words were chilling: "I'll be back, like Independence Day." Aileen Wuornos wasn't just the woman from Monster. She was a product of trauma, violence, and choices that turned Florida's highways into her hunting ground. This is Criminal Origins, where the truth isn't just revealed, it's uncovered.